Hello, team. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on here today. We're actually going to be just sharing a little bit of information about how, as I suppose, health professionals, you can actually share Juice Plus. And I'm actually not going to say a whole lot. I'm going to sit back here and let the people who actually know this even better do all of the talking. And so on my right-hand side here, we've got the beautiful Alison. And Alison has been that person that, if you've been reading the compliance newsletters and that, you'll see that she's been kind of putting a lot of effort into doing posts that are compliant to the, you know, the cannots and the cans, which is a great way to be able to kind of, I suppose, learn. So a lot of that, but also too, because she has, her previous role was in the partner support department, she gets, you know, some of the challenges that may be around about building business and how we can best support you through using social media effectively and in a compliant way. And then we've got the brains of the operation here, and that, because I just keep referring to Adam. Okay, Adam, what's this? What's that? And that, but Adam has done an awesome job in being able to get across all things TGA, all things compliance. And so I suppose if we've got a technical question, he's our guy that we kind of go to, and he's able to interpret what can oftentimes be, even for all of you amazing, awesome, intelligent people, sometimes the laws or the rules that come out from any legislator, but especially the TGA, can be a little bit confusing, and they can also be open to interpretation at times. So that was one of the things that we even found when we met with them on this past week, that you know, there were some things where there was that little bit of leeway with regards to interpretation. So I'm going to hand over. I know that Alison's going to share her screen, and they're going to speak to a few different things. And then at the very end, what we will do is leave some space. We'll probably stop our recording and leave some space for some Q&A so that you could ask some very specific questions. So share screen, Donald. There you go. Awesome. And that. So over to you guys.
Thank you. So yes, as health professionals, there is, you know, certain rules regarding what you can and can't do. It's kind of covered in the Therapeutic Goods Advertising Code. So it's a little bit distinct, like there's actually a different definition of health professional for the Advertising Code compared to the Therapeutics Goods Act. So that's why we've kind of got the next slide here, which kind of details what is considered to be a health professional by the Therapeutic Goods Administration. And so anyone who's promoting our products is generally seen as advertising it. So if you're in this list, you are considered a health professional by the code. So it's very exhaustive. They kind of do little bits where they reference, they say 42AA, which is kind of the area of the Therapeutic Goods Advertising Code that covers this. And then they kind of reference you to other places to kind of pull all this information together. So we kind of tried to put it all in one sheet. Alison put it together. It's fantastic. And it's just kind of, you know, lets you see, hey, am I one of these things? Then, you know, this applies to you. And so now we're kind of getting into the what you can say, what you can't say, where you've got to be a bit careful of. Now, because our complete isn't in, it isn't registered with the TGA, it's not in the, what do you call it? The register, the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods. It isn't covered by any of their legislation at all. So certainly any links you have to complete any discussion, you can hold up bags of it. You can, you know, have it all around you. You could take a bath in it if you wanted to. It's completely fine. You can do whatever you want with complete, just because it's not listed with them. There's no regulations around that with respect to them or with respect to you being a health professional. So it's always a fantastic introduction. If you're ever trying to, you know, link someone to your website, I'd certainly recommend using the complete page as a way to kind of get them to your Juice Plus website. And certainly as a health professional, you can talk to your patients as part of your care to them. You're allowed to have one-on-one conversations with anyone and just talk about the products, discuss whether they'd be right for them, whether it'd be suitable for them in those circumstances. Completely fine. And certainly you can talk about some of the research behind it, as long as, you know, it is the research that we allow. So again, it's kind of the, what is compliant in Australia? Certainly look at our website, look at the research we've posted there. We go through it all and make sure it's what we're allowed to post in Australia. Previously, there has been some sort of inflammation studies and a few others, which we aren't allowed to refer to in Australia at the moment. So just as long as you're aware of what is compliant in Australia, that's, the key to understanding what you can say. Now, if we want to go into what you need to be a lot more careful about, the biggest thing would be, talking about holding up products of capsules and chewables and promoting them as a health professional. So now this kind of gets down to, what do you consider to be a health professional? And we certainly had talks with the TGA about this because, as we all know, there are certainly people who promote as health professionals and are very vocal about it. It's a part of their life. They have websites dedicated to it. They, everything about them is promoting the fact that they're adopted this, RN that, like a certain level. It's something that they kind of have as part of their identity. Whereas there are a lot of people who would identify as health professionals who, go to work, they go to work in a hospital or clinic, they're there 8 hours a day for their shift work. They don't specifically market themselves towards that point. But they, for us, we've always said, well, you are a health professional in that instance. But the TGA kind of brought some clarity around that and basically let us know that, hey, if you aren't promoting and mentioning yourself as a health professional, so, you don't imply that, hey, you start off every conversation with, oh, well, as a regional nurse or as, an identifier as a health professional, it can be a lot more lenient. Now, obviously, there's a lot of ifs and buts on this, so you have to be careful about what you've put on social media. So I know a lot of us have like our employment history on Facebook, and we might say, I work as a chiropractor here, or as a nurse, or as a doctor. If that is there, then it's very clear that you are a health professional. So certainly if you're advertising on Facebook, then you couldn't do anything in terms of capsules or chewables, just because you've identified yourself as a health professional and you've made it clear. Now that kind of follows to Instagram, LinkedIn, anywhere that you kind of have clearly stated, this is what I am, then they kind of believe it's associated with you after that point. And certainly if you've got a private, practice website or something, they would consider that to be clear advertising that you are a health professional. So then you wouldn't be able to, talk about the capsules or chewables. Further to that, if you have any clear pictures that identify you as that, so, if you were a doctor in kind of a coat and had a stethoscope around your neck, if you had pictures that, are clearly medical identifying pictures, then they'd say, well, you clearly also identify as a medical professional in this kind of instance. So certainly to a certain degree, you have to be careful about what you've put online and where that can then classify you. So, they weren't specifically clear of saying, oh, well, this would be okay, this would be okay, this would be okay. It was more just a general context kind of idea. So it's not, it's not a certain line that we can say, hey, if you do this or this, you're perfectly fine. But certainly if you were concerned and you weren't sure, you could send us, your Facebook link and say, hey, do you think that the TGA would consider me a health professional from what I can see here? And we'll kind of give you some feedback if there's specific things that might be able to be removed. And then that way it's a bit more, clear that, hey, they're just a person who does their job. We can kind of provide you that feedback and hopefully help you out in that respect. Certainly, we still have to follow all the other rules from the TGA. So at the moment, that's definitely not talking about any claims about disease states. That's a big one. We're still not technically allowed to provide testimonials as people who are employed by the company or generate an income from the company. Mm-hmm. So at current, we still, and this is for everyone, this isn't just health professionals, but we want to be clear that at current, we still cannot provide testimonials from ourselves. We can have our customers who don't derive an income from the product do so. And it's best in general if you do that from your specific customers, just because that way you know them, you know their story better than anyone else. So it's better to do it that way. And certainly, just be clear on what we are, what we're doing, follow all of our other compliance advice. Like in your situation, it's not a case to remove any other advice. It's just kind of an additional caveat that you have to follow and work through. So
at this time, I can imagine that, and I know I wasn't going to say much, but I can just imagine that there's a few of you kind of going, oh, you know, that's a little bit kind of scary. But, you know, if we look at it from the point of view of, I suppose as we dug a little bit, it was just the implied, I suppose the implied knowledge that you guys have, which I know on one hand should actually be, you know, really powerful to be able to help people to live healthier lives. And of course, that's our mission, to inspire healthy living around the world. But they also looked at it from the point of view that the regular person in the street may then just automatically take your advice to take juice plus without doing any due diligence. So I suppose that was kind of where it's that fine line between, you know, what we expressed to them was, of course, that as well as being a health professional, that you're all, you know, many of you are also mums and dads and whatever, you know, building that side hustle at the same time. But it's just the fact that there is that extra layer of complexity when you have, I suppose, got that in the general public's eyes, that extra level of knowledge. Now, we know that that should be a great value add, and that, but when it comes to the likes of social media, etc., and on platforms, public platforms, and that's just, you just got to be really aware of that, so that people are not just taking something at face value, not doing the due diligence that they maybe would do around adding a supplement to their diet. And so we just wanted to make sure, they just want to really make sure that there is, I suppose, a level playing field there. So if I was in your shoes right now at this point in time, what would I do? I would definitely do a cleanup on my social media. I would have a little look, and I would take Adam and Alison up on the fact that, you know, flick them through your LinkedIn or your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever it is where you've got a social media presence, and get them to just cast their eye over that, because they'll be able to give you some very quick feedback on what does it look like, and that. But you'll probably know yourself. But if you're unsure, then take them up on that opportunity to be able to have a look at it. So that'd be step one that I would actually do. Step two, I would look at my ability to be able to go old school a little bit. So in other words, that, you know, opportunity to be able to talk face to face with people, and that could be in your practice or, you know, as you're going about life, I suppose. It's just that face to face, you know, looking at, you know, if you are wanting to hold events or anything like that, you're doing it as you as a mum or a dad or a person, and it could be just something that you're doing in your kitchen, around your kitchen. You're not putting posters up all over the place on social media, or even just stuck in premises and things like that, that basically are saying, you know, you're having a juice plus night, and that, because as soon as you put something in print per se, it's out there in the public. That's it. It's very hard to take it back. We know, as we've been trying to delete videos and things like that, that they appear in all of the strangest of places. So, you know, if you're looking at partnering, say, with some of your team at events or whatever like that, you're not the person who's up there, you know, doing the big spiel, being introduced as a doctor or a chiropractor or an naturopath or anything that was on that very exhaustive list, and that, because straight away then that puts you in the limelight there. And so our understanding that we got when we walked away from there is that if you are definitely doing the right thing, if you've got a duty of care to the people that you're talking with, that you're ensuring and even encouraging them to actually do their own due diligence as well around the product, that you are stating only what we know we can say around our science, and that you're also making sure that at no state are you, unless of course it's in a particular consultation with a client or a patient, that you're actually having conversations about their particular needs and that, but at no other time are you linking anything to do with disease claims, which is of course the same for all of our team. And that you've got that added advantage, if I can say, the fact that you have got, more often than not, a client base, that you are talking one-on-one in your rooms or whatever like that. Those conversations are confidential. Those conversations are very much around that particular person. So you have that great opportunity to be able to have those, you know, those conversations that are there. But then you also have the opportunity that, should you choose to kind of have, that's your JOB, that's what you do during the day. But then over here, you are that that partner that is helping people to live healthier, but you're doing it in a way just like the rest of the team would do it, but you're not having medical practitioner or whatever it is plastered all over your social media, because then they link the two together and that. So there's a lot of positives in this. We both walked away from that meeting the other day feeling a lot clearer, because I can tell you that we actually started the conversation with, I basically said to him, we're having a meeting with all of the beautiful health professionals that are in our business on Thursday. And right now, I don't know what to tell them, because right now, if we took the letter of the law, it would be like, okay, guys, pack up, go home. You can't really say anything. But I walked out a lot more confident that absolutely you can. You just have some extra little guidelines that you need to take into account. Would you agree, Adam?
Completely. And look, it is just because in general, we as the Australian public do put medical and health professionals up on a pedestal. Like, we respect your opinion. If something comes and is seen as a recommendation from any of you, it holds that extra level that, you know, say talking to Alison or talking to someone on the street may not have. And so that's why, you know, it's just that kind of respect that goes behind your opinion that kind of gives you these extra rules that you do have to follow.
You're awesome. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So where can they get you, Ali?
They can get us right here, which probably weren't surprised that this was the next slide. So we have a couple ways you guys can contact us if you're wanting to get a second opinion. We've been in, since kind of, I guess, being so contactable in the last 6 months, we get Facebook videos that we watch over, we get posts, we get websites, we get brochures. We have had so many beautiful content and resources passed on to us to look over for compliance that we've been, majority of the time, have been awesome. Like, there's not really been much that we've ever gone back to say, you can't use this, like little tweaks here or there. So definitely, if you have things like that that you want to pass on, whether it is a Facebook post, you're more than welcome to email that through or give us a call. You can also book in a coaching call with us if you want to have a one-on-one little chat with us, with either Adam or myself. You can book that in. I'll put links in, not the video because it's not recording. I'll find a way to get the links to you guys. It's definitely all over our Facebook page because I post them in there all the time. But yeah, we are always here. We are at your service if you need anything looked over, or just to have a chat if you want some clarification or anything. This is where you'll find us. There's our joint email address is thecompliance.au@juiceplus.com. That's where you'll get both of us, and we can kind of assist you more on a general level. But if you want us individually or anything, there's our personal email addresses there, and then the phone number down the bottom. So more than welcome to reach out to us. Even I'd get my phone out and take a quick photo of that screen too if I was watching, because it'd be good just to have that as a reference.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Hello, this is Alison and Adam from the future after the call that you've just watched was recorded, and we thought we would jump in and just share with you guys some of the questions that we got yesterday. We did stop recording to allow time for questions, just to make it a bit more seamless at the time, but we thought that a lot of the questions are pretty good and really made sense, so we thought we would jump on here and let you know what those questions were and give you guys the answers. The call yesterday was incredible. Celine had the best input as well. Unfortunately, she's not here to join us in the future, so sorry, Celine. One of the questions yesterday, so there will be the presentation happening, and there's a slide, and it's got this amazing, beautifully crafted resource on it that lists all of the health professionals that the TGA recognises. Some of those health professionals, and we had some questions coming through the chat yesterday, like, so I'm a personal trainer, or I'm a health coach. I think there was one more, yes. So there's those ones, and they came through, and because they aren't listed on that list that was shown, technically they're not known as a health professional in terms of the TGA, so wouldn't be categorized underneath that list. So those people would be more so not under these new rules that have come through. There was another question in, I believe it was the registered nurse. So a registered nurse, should I update my profiles to remove this?
Yep. So certainly, like, if you're promoting the capsules or chewables on your social media profiles, and you do have that you're a registered nurse up in the corner, so say on Facebook where you have your employment history, we would recommend that you do remove it from that. just because then there's no concerns in terms of how you're marketing yourself and the product. Certainly, I know we talked to it a bit in the call, but it's all about that kind of context. So if it's just something that you've got there and, you know, it's not all throughout, it's not kind of your identity and how you completely market yourself all across your online medias, we just recommend, hey, just edit that, remove that section, and then there shouldn't be any concerns. And finally, we did have some questions kind of regarding about places where you may have had, you know, flyers or product displays in your places of work. Certainly, if you had some leaflets or what have you in a chiropractor or doctor's reception area or waiting room, we would recommend that you just remove them, move them into kind of your personal rooms where it's more of a one-on-one kind of conversation with the person. That way there's no concerns. And certainly, you know, in terms of gyms and cafes, they should be completely fine to have resources or displays. Unless, you know, always think about context. Certainly there's a gym that's only a couple of doors down from where we are. And it's, you know, a standard gym, but they also do have some chiropractors and other health professionals who work out of the same area, just kind of a more holistic approach. Just be mindful of, hey, if that is the case for your instance, it would be worth just removing them from that too. And that's just so that there's no mixed messages, no concerns. And certainly, you know, a cafe generally should be fine. But again, context matters. If you are a cafe that's in a hospital or directly linked to another business that could be considered a healthcare professional, it would be best to just be a bit more cautious with that. But other than that, like, look, there shouldn't be any problems having, you know, product or displays in your place of work. If you're just a cafe, a gym, anything like that. Certainly if you're, you know, a healthcare professional, just be mindful about how you have it set up. So don't have it in your waiting room anywhere, you know, local like that. Just do it in your private area.
Wonderful. And I think that's all the questions that we had from the call yesterday. Definitely, if you have more questions, feel free to comment on the video or send us an email through the contact information sheet as well. We're always happy to answer the questions you have, and they, like yesterday, the questions that we got yesterday were definitely useful in today's call, so that's why we wanted to jump on and add them. But yeah, we hope that you liked the call. If you need us, just let us know, and yeah, feel free to reach out.